Welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about adding and subtracting fractions. Now, if you haven't seen fractions before, fractions are just a different way that we write numbers. So just like we could write numbers as a decimal number, fractions are just a different way of writing the same number. So we've got two different parts to fractions. We've got a numerator right here and a denominator on the bottom. So the top number, it's called a numerator. The bottom number, it's called a denominator. And this little line right here that separates our two numbers in a fraction, all it means is to divide. So you divide the numerator by the denominator. That's all a fraction really is. So if you have the fraction 4 over 5, right, you've got 4. 4 is going to be our numerator. 5 is going to be our denominator. And this middle line just means we're going to take 4 and divide it by 5. So if you take 4 divided by 5, you get 0.8. So 4 over 5 is just another way to write 0.8. That's all fractions are. It's a different way to write decimal numbers. Now, just like with integers, we can perform operations with fractions. So we're going to do adding and subtracting in this video, and then in another video, we can talk about multiplying and dividing. Adding and subtracting, nicely enough, it's the same process for both. Multiplying and dividing, it gets a little different, but we'll cover that in another video. Both adding and subtracting fractions, you need to have something called a common denominator. So you need the same bottom number. But why? I want to talk about why we do this and why this needs to happen. And I want to do that using some pizzas. So I drew some square pizzas. They're a little bit easier to divide up. But we've got some square pizzas here. So you've got a pizza that has 5 slices out of 12 possible slices on it. And you've got a pizza here that's cut into 6 slices, and you've got 3 slices remaining. How in the world can we do anything to combine these pizzas together and have it work out somewhat nicely? So these pizzas are sliced differently, right? You've got 12 slices on this pizza over here, and you've got 6 total possible slices on this pizza over here. We need a way to be able to, I guess, combine these or distribute these in a way that will have the same number of possible slices. So one slice of the 5/12 pizza, it's going to be a different size when you compare it. And you can see it right here, right? This slice here is a different size than that long slice over there. We need to be able to change the slice sizes in order to add or subtract these fractions together. So when we look at this slice size, we call this slice size the common denominator. So we need to make both denominators the same, or we need to have both pizzas have the same size of possible slices. So if we take a look at 5/12 and 3/6, we need to understand how are we going to divide or change the slice size. So we usually look at these denominators and try to do something called a least common multiple. Now, if I'm looking at this and I see this in just a visual way, I know that if I slice this in half, okay, maybe I'll make that a little bit thicker line so we can see it. If I slice that in half like this, it's going to look exactly like our other slice, right? So if I'm going to slice this line, I'm going to slice this as well. There we go. Okay, and if we have this, this all of a sudden turns it from 3/6 into how many slices do we have if we cut the whole thing in half? Well, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 slices out of the 12 possible slices. Okay, so if we combine all of these and we say we've got 5 slices over here and 6 slices over here, well, we take a look and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That just gives us 11 slices out of the 12 possible slices for our pizza size. Okay? It's not always super simple to draw out these pictures. Okay, so what we're going to do is find another kind of way where we don't have to draw these pictures, because it could get really convoluted if you need to all of a sudden draw a pizza that has, let's say it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different slices, and then you also have a pizza that's only got 3 different slices. Well, how are we going to figure out how to get the same slice? It's not always that simple. So we have a way, like I said before, it's called the least common multiple. What the least common multiple is it's the smallest shared number that appears on a multiplication table of 2 or more numbers. Well, what does that mean? Let's take a look. We've got 2 multiplication tables here, kind of. I've just written them out in a list. So if we're finding the least common multiple between 6 and 12, we're going to write out all of the multiples of 6 and all of the multiples of 12. The multiples of 6 include 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, and 48. What that multiple means is that it's a number that when you divide it by the main number, you get an even number back. 6 divided by 6 is going to be 1. 12 divided by 6 is going to be 2. 18 divided by 6 is going to be 3. You can also work the other way with that. So you just take 6, this is times 1, 6 times 2, 6 times 3, right? The same thing with 12. This is 12 times 1. This is going to be 12 times 2. This is going to be 12 times 3, and so on. Okay? So we find the multiples of each number, and then we're going to go ahead and circle the common numbers. So the numbers that we see in both of them. So we know that we see 12 in both 6 and 12. We know we see 24, and we know we see 48. If we have more than one common number in our list, we're going to choose the smallest one. That's why it's called the least common multiple. So if there's more than one common number, we use the smallest one. So in this case, the least common multiple is 12. And that's what we use for our common denominator. Okay, so the least common multiple of 2 or more numbers is the number that we use for that common denominator. So if you see here, we've got 5 over 12 plus 3 6, just like we had above. We want to change this 6 to a 12 because this one's already a 12. So in order to go from 6 to 12, well, we multiply by 2. Okay, and whatever we do to that bottom number, that denominator, we also have to do to the top. So if we multiply this bottom number by 2 right here, we also need to multiply that 3 by 2. This is called an equivalent fraction. So we know that 3/6 is equal to 6 over 12. It's an equivalent fraction. It's the exact same thing. You can also go the other way. We know that 3/6 is the same as a half. Those are all equal to each other. They're all equivalent fractions. So we find the equivalent fraction when 3/6 all of a sudden turns into a slice of 12, and then we add them up. When we do this and we add these up, we add up the top numbers, the numerators, and we leave the denominators the same. Okay? We leave that denominator the same. So whatever factor you use to get to the common denominator, it has to be used to change the numerator. Just like we just said. We take 6, we multiply it by 2. We've got to do the exact same thing to that 3. We need to multiply it by 2 as well. Okay, so let's take a look at an example here. We've got 3/7 plus a quarter. I'll zoom in here so we can do it together. Okay, if we list out our multiples of 4, our multiples of 4 are 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, and 28. And our multiples of 7 are 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, and 42. Now we can see where we're going here. We're going to find the 2 common numbers for each list? Well, I have 28. So 28 is going to be my common denominator. So I change this here. I say, okay, I need 3/7 to change to 28, and I need 1/4 to change to 28 so that they have the same slices. Well, when I go from 4 to 28, I multiply that 4 by 7. And when I go from 7 to 28, I multiply that by 4, right? Now, another easy way to see this, you can see that 4, this is my 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 times 6 and times 7. So I can go down the line of my multiples list and I can see, okay, that's the number that I'm going to multiply it by. This is times 1, times 2, times 3, and times 4. So that's the number I'll multiply this fraction by. Okay, so if I multiply 7 times 4 and 4 times 7, well, I have to multiply the numbers on top by the same. So I have to multiply the 3 times 4 and the 1 times 7, and that'll give me 12 over 28 plus 7 over 28. My last step, I have the common denominators. I have our equivalent fractions all written out. Then I add up our numerators and I keep our denominators the same. So 12 plus 7 is going to give me 19, and I keep that denominator the same. So when we add 3/7 plus 1/4, we get 19/28. And the reason why we leave this, again, we leave these denominators the same, if you remember the pizza that we looked at, and we go up to the pizza example, okay, we are looking at the slice sizes. That is what our denominator is. It's how many total possible slices there are. Okay, when we change the slice size, we still have 11/12 of the same slice of pizza, or the same slice size of pizza. So we changed our slice size here to be out of 28 total possible slices, and we have 19 slices of pizza out of those 28 possible slices. Okay, let's try 4/5 minus 1/3. So we need to, again, find a common denominator for 5 and 3. So we list out our multiples. For 3, it's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. And for 5, you have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and 35. We take a look. We look for the common denominator, and that'll be 15. So then we're going to have both fractions be out of 15. Well, we take a look and we see that to get to 15 from 3, it takes us 5 times. So we're going to multiply that by 5. What we do to the bottom, we have to do to the top. So we're going to multiply that 1 by 5 as well. So we have 5/15. And then, of course, we multiply our 5 by 3. What we do to the bottom, we do to the top. And we're left with 12/15. For subtraction, it's the same rule as addition. We're going to subtract the numerators and leave the denominator the same. So it's going to be out of 15, and we do 12 minus 5, which is going to be 7. So our answer is 7/15. The hardest part about adding and subtracting fractions will be to find those common denominators. As you saw in these examples, a lot of the time, you can just multiply the two denominators together, and that will give you the common denominator every single time. But sometimes it works out to try to find it differently, because 6 times 12 is not 12, right? So sometimes it takes just looking at it and thinking a little bit before we do multiply both the denominators together. But a lot of the times you'll find that that will help you out. However, if you do want to multiply the denominators together here, it is still possible. You just end up with really large numbers and you'll have to simplify more at the end. If you list them out and you know that, hey, these are our least common denominators, it's going to save you from having to use some larger numbers in the long run. And there is adding and subtracting fractions. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. And if you have anything else that you'd like to see me run over, just put it in the comments as well. Thanks so much. Have a great day.